The 2024 Formula One Mexico City Grand Prix is this weekend. I'm here to go over all of my predictions for the qualifying as well as the race. Talk about a couple of things that I think might happen in the race that might decide it, and talk about the rest of the season as well because last week kind of made a big impact on the rest of the season. Um, Last year at the Mexico Grand Prix, we had both a VSC and a red flag leading to some split strategies. So, in my prediction, I'm only going to count on one retirement. We'll talk about that. I don't think it will alter the strategies much, but if there are multiple safety car periods, obviously that's going to change these predictions a bit. And of course, this season we haven't had much issues recently during the race, except for Lewis Hamilton's uncharacteristic spin out last week, which was the first safety car month. So let's get right into it with my predictions for the qualifying for the Mexico Grand Prix. Um, it's going to be the same teams kind of in the top, man, but it gets really tough when I go over some race scenarios. So let's get right into it. We'll start with the Q1 exits. I mean, we'll just get these off on the board. I mean, those are just going to be for sure. Alpine's been kind of shit, although last week they had a decent weekend. Alcon's been shit. He's going to be out in Q1. This work gets tough, man. It's been getting even more competitive throughout the midfield for the rest of the year. I'm going to say Magnussen in 17th here. Stroll in 16th, licking windows. He's going to be the last Q1 exit. Haas obviously had a great weekend last weekend, but this track's a little bit different, and we're going to talk about that as well, kind of comparing last weekend to this weekend in the tracks. Q2 exits. I have Gasly, unfortunately, being in 15th. Sonoda in 14th. He'll be raging, I'm sure, because I got Lawson up a little bit higher. 13th, I got Fernando Alonso. He's going to have to deal with the midfield battle again this weekend, followed by Nico Hulkenberg in 12th. Alex Albon in 11th. And making it into Q3 once again, I'm going to have Liam Lawson here rounding out the bottom in 10th. Look good. He's looked good. He looks confident. He's just sending it, so I like him to get 10th here. In ninth, also someone that's been absolutely fucking sending it, Franco Colapinto. He's going to get ninth ahead of Lawson here, I think. Albon probably would have out-qualified and out-raced Colapinto last weekend. He had a really bad weekend, but Colapinto's hot, man. He's been doing well. He's got momentum. It's all or nothing for these guys, so there's nothing to lose, I like him getting into Q3 here. Eighth, I'm gonna have Sergio Perez not doing shit at his home race because he's still dog shit. Just being in Mexico isn't gonna change that. George Russell coming in seventh, followed by Oscar Piastri in sixth, who has been struggling quite a bit recently. Comparatively speaking, though, he still hasn't been bad, but had a couple of tough weekends recently, and I don't know if this is going to be the weekend to turn that around, especially dealing with these new upgrades they've had. Maybe they'll switch back, maybe not. Up into fifth place, I have Lewis Hamilton coming in fifth, and Charles Leclerc rounding out the bottom 4 through 10 here. It gets tricky here, man. I could switch out Leclerc and Sainz here. I'm gonna have Sainz in third and Max Verstappen qualifying in second, and that leaves just one man, Lando Norris, taking pole position once again. I feel like last weekend it probably would have been Max if not for that last second George Russell Osama Allah Akbar into the wall in Q3. Verstappen was on his way to a best lap, but given this track difference, we're going to look at that really quick. We're just going to compare these two kind of. You can see here, the Red Bull always does better in the high downforce areas and areas where you have to push more under the braking and stuff like that. And we've seen that from Max where he can kind of come off the gas later and brake later as well into these kind of hard turns here. And then comparatively speaking to Mexico, a lot less hard corners, just a couple in this sector, one right here, more straightaways, and I think that's going to benefit the Ferrari and the McLaren more than Max Verstappen and the Red Bull. You can't really say the Red Bulls because Perez is just fucking playing with toys down in the midfield anyway. So, anyway, I think the track difference is going to be a little bit of the deciding factor here and where my picks are going to be. But here we go. So this is your final grid for qualifying. I'm going to have Lando Norris taking pole position, followed by Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen in third, Charles Leclerc in fourth, Lewis Hamilton fifth, Oscar Piastri sixth, George Russell 7th, Sergio Perez 8th, Liam Lawson 9th, and Franco Colapinto rounding out the top 10. Let's get into the predictions for the race. It's going to be kind of similar towards the bottom here, so let's just get that filled in. My one retirement for the race is going to be Yuki Tsunoda. He'll be in last place here. Um, we saw last weekend when he knows he has to make up a bit of ground or he sees Lawson in front of him, he starts to make mistakes. He gets upset. And I think if anybody's going to let the emotion and kind of like the battle between them and their teammate, whoever else is on the grid, get to them, I think it's going to be Tsunoda again this weekend. He's got a lot to prove now that Lawson came in and had a P19 to P9 first race. I mean, couldn't have asked for anything more out of him. And not to mention he beat Tsunoda. So he's got a lot on the line here. Not really. He's re-signed, but mentally for him, I know that he's very competitive and he's going to want to beat Lawson. I don't think he will, and I think that's going to end up costing him the race. Let's move on. The usuals in 19th, 18th, Alcon in 17th. I got Stroll in 16th. He's not going to go anywhere. He'll be fucking around the midfield. Magnussen 15. Let's roll through these. Gasly 14, Alonso 13. Not a whole lot of movement here, to be honest. And this is just because I don't really know what the hell's going to happen, and I think it'll be somewhere around there. The top 10 is where I'm really focusing my time, with Liam Lawson rounding out the top 10. So I think Lawson's going to score points here again. I have Perez in ninth with Colapinto overtaking him for some reason, and Perez has had some sus clips with Colapinto. I don't know what that has anything to do with it, but for some reason Perez has had a really hard time racing Colapinto. Again, I know Franco's racing hard; it has nothing to lose, but Perez has been doing this since like I was a fucking child, and he still can't get past some rookie. So that's pretty embarrassing. The Williams has been good. Perez has been shit. I'm gonna take Colapinto to overtake Perez sometime during the race. We'll go with Hamilton in what's that, eighth? We'll go Hamilton in seventh. Russell in sixth, I guess, with Piastri coming up into fifth. And this is where it gets tough. This is where it gets tough. And the way I'm gonna put this is what I saw happen last weekend into that turn one, and how we've seen Lando Norris handle turn ones, given that I have him on pole. It might just be like an easy prediction because it just happened, but I think something very similar is going to happen into turn one here. If and only if Verstappen is in second behind Norris, I think he's going to try to defend so hard that I do believe Carlos Sainz is going to swoop through, just like Leclerc did last week, only this time from third place instead of fourth. I don't know how the fuck he came through from fourth place last week and won the race from that. I mean, unbelievable drive from him too. But anyway, I'm going to have Sainz overtaking both of them and ending up winning the racer. I'm going to have Sainz as our race winner. Norris in second and Verstappen in third. Again, Norris would have gotten past Max last week if he knew how to overtake. So based on race pace and just how they manage tires and whatnot, I have to have Norris ahead of Verstappen over the course of the race. Now maybe Max out qualifies him, but I just have a feeling that it's going to be Lando on pole. He's been doing a good job in qualifying. So is Max, obviously. But again, this is a different track, and I think Max had a lot of benefit last weekend because of those S's in that first sector. I think he really took advantage of gaining time there, and in some other spots on the track where, and I'll go over this in a later video, but recapping last weekend. But if you look at the telemetry data from that USGP, he was able to come off the gas a lot later and brake a lot later than Lando into those corners when they were battling, and I think that'll play a role here. I just don't think that he's going to be able to make up as much time when he's not battling because there's not those different spots in here. I mean, it's a much more straightforward track where most drivers are going to know how to attack the best lines, and Max might not have that advantage where they might not have the confidence to be able to take these kind of S's and these hard fast corners as fast as he can. That's my justification. I don't know. I've had the last three race winners right, and they've all just been off of a feeling. I have a feeling it's going to be Sainz this weekend. I know he's been talking about really wanting to get one more win in that Ferrari before the end of the season, before he goes to the bowels of the Williams garage and has to race that fucking boat next year. God, what a shame too. He's really been fucking doing such a good job this year. What a shame he has to go to Williams. But anyway, I think he takes the win here. I think we're gonna have Lando Norris in second, probably less than 3 seconds behind Sainz toward the end of the race, and I'm gonna have Max Verstappen in third, a bit back. But that's the thing, man. If Max is in third, sorry, I forgot Charles Leclerc here, and Nico. Where did I put Nico at? Did I just totally forget his name? Sorry, he's in 12th. Nico Hulkenberg in 12th. My bad. Um, the problem is, man, the Ferrari's been so good on the tires, and they've had such good pace recently. Not just counting last week, but just over the course of the season when they're not getting dicked over by shit strategy or weird pit stops and stuff. They tend to be very competitive with the top teams. Only problem is a lot of the times after we've seen Ferrari win, and specifically if they go 1-2, we do see them kind of implode the next week. But there's a lot more on the line now. They're very close in the constructors fight, and to be honest, Charles Leclerc is just as much of a threat to Max as fucking Lando is at this point. They have the same amount of race wins. I think Leclerc is maybe 24 points behind or something like that of Lando Norris. At this point, dude, anything could happen. It just takes one DNF from any of these guys in the top three of the championship to throw a wrench in everything. So that's going to be my prediction. I still don't feel good about it, but my heart is telling me Carlos Sainz wins this weekend. I got Lando Norris in second, Max Verstappen third, Charles Leclerc fourth, Piastri fifth, Russell sixth, Hamilton seventh, Colapinto eighth, overtaking Perez in ninth, having another shit performance, and Liam Lawson taking the last point of the day in 10th. I know, I know. I don't even know anything. I don't know anymore. I don't know why I think Sainz is going to win. That's just what I think is going to happen. I think he'll end up out qualifying Leclerc. Leclerc historically hasn't been the best at Mexico. He's had a couple of couple decent races, but historically not the best. Max is coming off, I think, 3 or 4 wins consecutively at Mexico, so he's going to be up there. But I just think the other cars are better. I think the Ferrari's better. I think the McLaren's better, and I don't know if he'll be able to have that make up that gap in qualifying on this track given its characteristics and where he can push extra and gain that extra time. So that's what I think. I have a feeling that Norris is going to undercut Ferrari at some point and they're going to slip on strategy. I think Ferrari's going to have a rough day on strategy. Red Bull's been having not the best strategy recently and they kind of have to be reactive and they're just not in a good situation. Max is, if it wasn't Max, I mean they'd be probably P8, P9, P10 every race if it was somebody else, but um that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think. I have no fucking idea. I'm gonna do another video, maybe a live video, and recap the entire U.S. Grand Prix weekend. There's so much to go over. I kind of wish that there was a week break here so that we could talk about it more and give it the kind of respect that that race deserves because that ended up being a phenomenal race with a lot of different things going on that weekend that I feel need to be addressed before we just move on to Mexico GP. So I'll be back with that. I know it's kind of past by now, but there's still so much to talk about. There's a lot to look back on moving forward for the rest of the season. So we're going to do that. That's who I think is going to win. Let me know what you think. Is it going to be Carlos Sainz? Is it going to be Lando Norris? And is Max going to be close? Because if he's not, then we start talking about the Drivers' Championship again. He gained some points last week, but hey, if he slips a little bit this week, if he spins out and loses a couple of spots, who knows, man? So I'll be back with more videos coming up into this race this weekend. I'm sure there's going to be more drama to talk about, and we'll be here for some of the sessions. Let's see what time these sessions are this weekend. Free practice Friday, 2:30 p.m. No, so maybe free practice 3 on Saturday. Definitely qualifying on Saturday, maybe, and the race is at 4. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. We'll be back. We'll be back with more for this race. We'll talk about the last race a little bit because there's still so much that happened that just kind of got overlooked because we just move on to the next race. But I'll be back. Peace.